dum, dum, dum.
We were just finishing a wonderful song, and next time you can hang out with us before the show to hear it. So, welcome, good morning, happy Sunday to everyone who has joined us here, where we speak on the Speaker's Corner, where this is, we ask you to think. And I would say we have two corners this morning on the Speaker's Corner. The first corner in yellow, both in shirt and in label, is my illustrious friend, Thom Holmes. Say good morning, Thom.
Good morning, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, none of whom are here.
Right. So, to all of the fathers that wanted to be fathers, to all of the fathers who didn't want to be fathers, and to all of the individuals who have found home in the father that they have. So, thank you to the fathers for making us all here.
That was
I wanted to let that brew for a second.
Yeah.
But my name is Jeff Wheeler, and I'm here under the shadow of the Gold Dome this morning in lovely and downtown Atlanta, Georgia. I was in a wedding I wasn't in a wedding, but I was at a wedding last night that was just a few blocks from where I am, and just stellar views reminded me of why I want to be down here where all the things look pretty and there's industry and magicness that is nearby. So that's good news. And we've got a ram-packed show for you today, for this morning, for this week, speaking to you about all of those things that would have happened this week and things that we wanted to speak about. So let me go ahead and chime in with a little softball here. The Pope released a paper, if you will. He released a statement on global warming and how environmentalism and Catholicism should meld. Thom, were you able to see anything on that?
I read some snippets from it. I read some of the bold language in the encyclical, I believe is what they call the letter.
Yes, I didn't know how to speak it. But.
Yeah, it was. There were some strong words.
Right.
Basically, there was one line of basically saying you look around and the current actions is turning parts of this world into a filth pile or something, a pile of filth. I was like, wow. Burn! Mic drop.
Encyclical. And so from time to time, the Pope releases these statements about the world and how things are and climate change and all these kinds of things. Apparently, he both left room in his statements for climate change deniers, as well as stating emphatically that the human race is affecting climate, which I think is kind of interesting that he did both of those things. And I guess, is that pandering?
What was the room for deniers? What was the?
There was a couple of spaces where he stated that all of this was wrong, but then in another said that all of this exists, assuming that we are the reason for this, that, and the other. So there was about 4 statements buried in the document that were wiggle room, if you will.
Oh, I didn't read that. I'll have to read that.
And I just took it from someone else's recount of what it was.
It's a 180-page document. So
yeah,
I love that. It's the letter. It's not really a letter so much as a effing book.
Yeah, it is a manifesto, if you will.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
In January, he announced a goal of drafting the encyclical, and I guess it takes 6 months to write a 180-page document.
Sure. It's got to be vetted. You probably have to.
Yeah.
Has to go through dogmatic channels, because even though you are El Papa, and Happy Father's Day, the Pope,
isn't he considered a father in the Catholic Church?
That's what Pope means, is father.
Got it.
Yeah.
Words from the encyclical. We all want poor to live better lives, but we just don't think the solution is to restrict the use of fossil fuels, because we don't think CO2 is causing a climate crisis. So if that's our message in a sentence, the message was not reflected in the encyclical.
I got. I'm sorry, I have to jump in. I have a couple things I want to say.
From the producer's desk. From the producer's desk. What is Pope? Are you speaking from on high?
No. my most holy of Speaker's Corner friends. I was one thing I wanted to mention was that we're going right before a UN meetup, so he's positioned himself to talk about this without having to talk about it, because he's in that weird position in the UN where he gets to say something but not really say something.
Yeah, he has speaking rights but not voting rights.
Right. So I think he's trying to put something ahead of that. Two, I think this is also another split. We've talked about this before on the church's beliefs and the internal struggle that the Catholic Church is showing between those people that do agree and those people that don't agree. For example, we've got and we're going to cover this later on in the show. But for example, Jeb Bush, right? He's now becoming he has put his hat in the ring. Mm-hmm. And he is a stark Catholic, right? So we know him to be a Catholic.
Okay. I didn't know he was.
Yeah, and which may be a reason why he won't get elected. But that aside, he did say that he did not believe in what the Pope was saying, essentially, and that the Pope needed to butt out of politics. Now,
really?
Yeah.
Which the turnaround, I heard that line was like something. Like he said something that's like I don't turn to the Vatican for advice on economic, environmental issues. To which I can't remember if it was you, Michelle, our friend was like, all right, then can the politicians stop butting into issues of ethics or morality?
Yeah, bingo! What I do in my bedroom has nothing to do with the politicians. Why are you in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And before that, he said, I hope I'm not going to get castigated for saying this by my priest back home. And I hope your priest does castigate your ass for saying that.
Yes, he will.
All right, that was all my 2 cents. I'm going to go back into the ether again.
Bet you didn't know there was going to be a cameo today, folks.
We have a third corner for the third room. And this is a safe room that we can all speak about what it is.
This is a safe place.
Would you give a thumbs up or thumbs down to the Pope's warning on global warming?
I give a thumbs up. I think part of it was, I think it is, there was something called, about, stewardship of this earth. You have seen in some, even for years, in some evangelical circles, you've seen growing environmental sensibility amongst people who might, be deniers or dismiss it, but this idea of we are stewards of the earth, we need to take care of this place. So I think there is I think there is a pretty strong intersection between faith and sound and environmental practice. So I don't think he was stepping outside the bounds of his dictate or what he's responsible for. I think it's fully within his wheelhouse.
And I work in environmental concerns on a daily basis, and I guess whenever I see politicians and I see leaders speak about what this is, it feels like they got briefs from two opposite sides. They got a brief from the people who want to make money and don't really worry too much about what's going on the flip side, and they've got a brief from the people who want to minimize the amount of the amount of what they consider nasty pollution, because in their laboratory they were able to prove that this does detrimental things, right? Mm-hmm. And that large area in the center is not really well represented in lobbying groups. So those people who are generally politicians or people that are generally espousing have no real practical experience in the pursuits of this environmental work, right? And that is the same kind of perspective that I get from people that work with the state and people that are charged with enforcing these rules and laws that were dictated by politicians who know very little about the details. And my point or my perspective for a little while here has been, and it may change another day, but at this point my perspective is that the amount of gains that you can do for both sides, by just increasing efficiencies, by paying attention to the amount of detriment that's done, right? So there is some cost to burning fossil fuels, right? But the cost of burning those fossil fuels is much less to our overall environment than it is about putting mercury in every single one of our homes using CFL light bulbs. And then when those light bulbs get destroyed or broken or put into the garbage dump, that mercury gets out into the air, water, and soil that we all try and eat, breathe, and drink. And so the short-sighted push to make an immediate gain in one regard doesn't have full picture benefit and full picture understanding. And so I find often that people are very, very single focused when they are doing that. And many of the people that are in environmental concerns tend to have a very anti-capitalism, anti-industry perspective. And that creates rules and laws that are very anti-industry. And so
well, I can't. Obviously, yes, there are people who are in some of the sciences who may come from or may have a anti-capitalist spirit imbued in them. But I would argue that's probably, if anything, a protectionist reaction against a head in the sand capitalist industry that's about its profit now, and the future be damned.
Right, and I do work with organizations, and there is and I think we're both talking about the 5 to 10 percenters, the scientists, there are 5 to 10% of them that are very anti-capitalist and are working hard to destroy capitalism however they want, and there's 5 to 10% of industry that says, to hell with all of that stuff, I'm here to make money, I don't care what that does. But the bulk of the actual people who make decisions in industry, I feel like, and I talk to them, and they make dollars and cents decisions that do the right thing often. If they can argue, if they can cover their six and do the right thing, they will do it. And I see it time and time again. And so I don't think that it is the predominant perspective of most industry that they are, to hell with all of that environmental crap. We don't care. We're just here to make money. The robber baron concept does not really have a strong heart because it doesn't serve their financial goals in the long term. People want to be right.
I want to stratify I'm going to let you have this 5 to 10% that is actively, consciously saying to hell with the world. I'm just here for money. Within that 90%, I think there is also probably, I want to say 30 to 40 that aspires to CSR, corporate social responsibility, but it's almost like it's more on paper than in practice. So, they're talking the talk, but they're not exactly walking the walk. I see it in industries that I happen to work around and be around where there is this kind of aspiration of being
culturally responsible, but
it doesn't completely translate into how you operate, or you end up picking those things that are the show. Like look, it's look at what we did. It's like, yeah, that's really just the small potatoes. That's not really getting to the meat of the problems.
And I grant you that they don't make all decisions based on what is the most responsible decision.
No.
They make many decisions based on business because that's really how everybody gets paid, and that's how the 10,000 people that work for them are able to pay their mortgage, is because they made a decision that keeps the company afloat. And so you have to kind of balance the fact that you do need to be in business with the fact that you want to be as responsible as you can easily be. And I think a report card system might be as good as any other, rather than a punitive legal requirement. Because what tends to happen when you create all these rules and these laws that people have to follow is the compliance costs get to be as high as the cost to do the true benefit. So if it costs you the CAFE standards for cars, whenever they have to get pollution control on those, or the NTSB standards for crash test, right? If you make 5,000 cars, a very small run of cars, it costs you as much to crash the number of cars that the NTSB says you have to as it does for you to make all the cars for the rest, because you have to sit there and make 10 or 15 cars that you just wreck to prove that they're going to be okay in a wreck. And they have to be fully functional, fully ready to go cars. And so it's like, how much is the cost and how much environmental stuff are we doing just for compliance cost, just to prove that you are what you say you are? And that's where the problem of the laws and the legal requirements come into big dollars. It's not just doing the right thing, it's doing the right thing and then proving it.
Yes, until I see industry not just doing the right thing, but because they feel like they have to, but doing the right thing because they want to, then maybe I can start to see some of those regulations dialed back. But I feel like we're not that far removed from unsafe at any speed, to where I'm like, I mean, shit, we still have, vehicles that, oh yeah, the car seat, oh, who was it, the airbag recall? We still have
Tata,
was it Tata? Or Taka.
Yeah.
Taka?
Yeah, out of India or whatever that made them.
Or is it Korean?
It's
in
the
we'll look it up.
Toyotas,
It'll
though.
be in the show notes. the infamous show notes.
So, but my argument is that there is a real contingent that really exists of people that at pretty much any cost are trying to do the right thing, without requirement from law. That it really truly exists, and there is a significant portion of industry that does try and do the right thing.
Do you want to go out on a limb and say what percentage you think of industry falls into that?
That is doing it at any reasonable cost, at anywhere near reasonable cost. I would probably say 25 to 30% of industry.
I'll let you have that. I feel like that. I could agree with that.
And with any justifiable cost, I would say it's 85, 90%.
Mm-hmm.
If they are able to run a spreadsheet that can make it break even, then they'll do it in 85, 90% of industry.
I'll have to think on that one. I'm not sure I hold to that high number.
And that's arbitrary numbers, and I'm pulling out of my hockey 5-hole.
Hockey 5-hole?
Have you ever seen a goalie?
I've seen a goalie.
Okay. There's 5 holes. One is between the arms, or actually one hole is above the arms and the head, right? Between the arms and the head.
Okay.
Other is over here. The others are underneath the arms down to the legs, right? The other one on the other side. So that's 4. Then the 5 hole is between the legs.
Between the legs. Is this a common parlance, or
it is? The 5 hole is a thing.
Wow. No, I mean like saying pulling it out of your 5 hole.
I'm not sure if that's a thing. But I think putting it in the 5 hole is actually a thing.
Can I say you got your head up your 5 hole?
I think you can say anything you want, Tom.
Yeah. All right.
I like the way that goes. Yeah. Speaking of things, wait, can I segue to that? So let's go to a furry and a whatchamacallit, and a Catholic. A furry and a Catholic walk into a race. The furry is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Yep. And Jeb Bush is the Catholic. Right?
I'm a plushie now. I'm not a furry.
Oh, is that a thing? Does that mean you have to
plushies.
put padding on yourself?
I always get furries and plushies confused in my head.
Hold on while I Google it.
Don't think on it too hard. While Jeff looks that up.
Plushies. Oh.
And
Don't look that up.
We've lost Jeff to the internet.
A plushie is someone with an interest in stuffed animals. In this case, it is manifested in sexual attraction, although this is more an exception than a norm. And number 2 definition is a stuffed character.
Okay.
Well,
So, sorry everyone that we put
Back
those
to reality.
things on.
Whoop! There goes gravity. So Jeb Bush got put his hat officially into the ring, and so did Donald Trump. Do you think that Donald Trump will make it all the way through, or will he, as some pundits have stated, make it into a few of the debates to bring up topics and then leave before the voting ever starts and sit back on his laurels and say, look at how much change I made. Look at this wonderful thing that I did.
I
and
could
how
believe
wonderful
it.
it is.
I could believe that theory because that goes in line with the whole the pride he took in getting Obama to release his long form birth certificate, and it was like, yeah, see what I've done. I'm like, yeah, you just wasted a whole bunch of our attention. So I could believe that. Also, when are the debates, and when does the next season of The Apprentice begin?
Right,
Because,
yeah.
I mean, this is just self promotion of the highest level. It's gross, and it's the most amazing. The sad thing is, he's already polling nationally high enough to like be in the debates. That's part of the problem. They said is like you don't. The way the debates apparently work is it's based on national polling. So smaller candidates who are focused on
Individual
let's say,
states.
trying to like get a good lead in Iowa and New Hampshire or a good showing in Iowa and New Hampshire aren't doing national campaigns yet because they don't have the money. Your Lindsey Grahams, your Santorums, those people could be in the parking lot come the debates because Donald and Carly Fiorini. Fiorini?
Oh yeah, the female, right?
The HP former CEO, the female. What are you from? An alien warlord? The female of the species is also running.
Oh my god.
The former HP exec, or CEO. Those people could be like out in the parking lot doing their own debate because Trump is polling at like 9 nationally, which is
wow.
I guess 9. I mean, at that point, what are you getting? Like 8-9% of the vote. So I guess it's not really like there's a few people some pensioners who really like his show, or yeah, it's a goddamn circus, and hopefully the circus will end. I mean, it's also at some point I'm sure some people would be like, oh, this is gonna be entertaining because it's gonna be a wackadoo, and I'm like, no, maybe I'm old, but I just want people to take this more seriously than I think they do. But it's hard to take it seriously when there's a clown.
But he's not a political elite. So to a certain extent, I enjoy the fact that there is someone who is not at all a political elite in the mix in that show, right?
You already dismissed the female. There is already a non-political elite.
She's not making any waves. She's not showing up in the news like Jeb Bush is showing up in the news.
Well, maybe she just needs to say some stupid shit
Trump,
like about
Trump
Mexican
is.
rapists. And
But
then,
to a certain extent, you gotta have the flutter. You gotta have the buzz about you, or else it doesn't become a part of the main debate. You know, it's a terrible world that we live in. That's the way it has to go, but it is the way it goes. You know,
I'm an old man. I can't.
You are.
In the words of Danny Glover from the Lethal Weapon series, I'm getting too old for this shit. Yeah.
So I've got another piece of information that you should recognize. The moment you realize this, it will kind of blow your mind a little bit. Take a picture of Pope Francis, and in your mind, have you seen Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh. Do you know the actor Jonathan Pryce?
Yes.
Okay. They look exactly alike.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jonathan Pryce in the Game of Thrones, this doesn't really ruin anything. He plays a character called the High Sparrow, which is the leader of a church circumstance that has to do with the 7 kingdoms and the 7 heavens and the 7 hells and all these kinds of things. And he is their spiritual leader, but washes people's feet and sweeps floors and all this kind of stuff, right? But Jonathan Pryce, and if you Google image search Jonathan Price and Google image search Pope Francis, you will see similarities that will literally break brain cells off of your head, and they will fly out into the world.
I love him. What's one of my favorite movies with him? It's that one with De Niro.
Brazil.
Oh yeah, Ronin. Oh, the Ronin.
Yeah,
man, that movie was awesome. Some of the best car chase. I had some of the best car chases since Bullet back in the day.
I just like how he was the U.S. president in G.I. Joe: Rise of the Cobra.
I didn't see any of the G.I. Joe movies.
What?
I mean, I've seen the G.I. Joe movie, the animated movie, but not any of the.
All right, so let's go into something that is actually of substance. Are you ready for some substance?
Yeah, I'm stealing myself for the substance, yes.
All right, so there has been more bad news in our world in the past week about color and what it is doing and what it is affecting in our societal norms, in our societal world, in our societal stuff, right? There was an individual in South Carolina that took it upon himself to take others' lives based on some random whatever it is that he felt was necessary. And so there was as some were calling it, a massacre at a historically black church in South Carolina near Charleston, where a single individual took, 7, 8 lives?
9.
9 lives. Okay. I'm pausing for that moment. But, and so there are many that are saying that it was racially driven and a hate crime, and these types of things. And of course, if you look through the social media,
I'm going to put you a stop there and say it's not many. It was. This is a man who had published online racist manifestos, who wore a jacket with the white government of Rhodesia and the former white supremacist South African flag, posed with weapons and Confederate flags, intentionally went out to kill African Americans. That's what he said as he was doing it, and that's what he's confessed to doing. So it's not, we believe he was a racist. He was raised on American racism, and he acted upon that racist fire that fueled him.
All right. And
Period.
So I'll let that stand on its own accord.
Thank you.
And that brings up the whole concept of, is that a society? To me, that brings up, is that a societal problem? Is that an individual problem?
I think it's a societal problem that fed an individual who obviously had issues, but was being fed racism
by a subset. He was being fed by a subset of our country and a subset of his surroundings.
By a major undercurrent. I would say he was being fed by a major undercurrent of our country.
But it's hard for me to believe that most Americans feel any way in support of what it is that he did. If there is even a significant percentage of Americans that felt like he did that and was anywhere near just.
Where the majority, if not 100%, I was having a conversation with a friend Friday about this, and I was remembering years ago I took a junior ROTC leadership class. It was in the summer in the Navy base in Jacksonville. And there was this chief petty officer, kind of a wiry guy with a mustache, white, and so he kind of opened up this class by saying, how many of you who are prejudiced? How many, come on, just put your hands up. How many of you are prejudiced? So obviously all us good little juniors sophomores going on juniors, just kind of sat and looked around. No one did anything.
Right.
And so then eventually this chief petty officer raises his hand and he goes, I have prejudice. And I'm willing to bet each and every one of you is consciously or unconsciously dealing with your own set of prejudices. It could be against someone of a religion or someone of another race, or it could be fat people or whatever it is. The worst thing you can do is not recognize that prejudice and work against it. Because if you're not aware of it, you're thinking it's natural. And that's where I would say 100% of Americans are dealing with prejudice, whether or not they're dealing with it consciously.
And I would like to point out that your statement of 100% of Americans doesn't mean 100% of white Americans. It means 100% of Americans.
100% of Americans. But unfortunately...
And that states to the fact that we all, as a human animal, have prejudices. We have things that we may have seen minor details of in the past, or maybe haven't, but we come up to these conclusions based on some small nugget of provable statement that then extrapolates to this whole set of conclusions that we make. And that's okay.
Sorry.
From up above,
Jesus.
From up above, Jesus. What do you have to say?
I think you give a lot of credit to the American public to think, and I think there's a lot of non-thinkers out there that just follow based on what their nurtured families and community groups have taught them.
Did you just do that sound effect yourself? Who did that?
That was Jeff.
Where was Frank?
That was inappropriate, Jeff. No, you're totally right, Michelle. That's why I was saying the problem is and that would lead into that not being conscious of it and just thinking it's natural or that's the order of things, which leads to belief in the most distilled version of that is the assumption of supremacy, but short of that is just the belief of not being aware of prejudice and just assuming, I'm not recognizing privilege. Unconscious of how, when you're not conscious of how the system operates, you're unaware of privilege. If you're so unaware of privilege or so unaware of the concept, then it starts to lead into like concepts of supremacy.
Is American exceptionalism part of that? The fact that we as Americans and as politicians typically espouse this concept of American exceptionalism, that we are the city on the hill, we are the 1,000 points of light leading the rest of the world to prosperity and wonderfulness. Is that American exceptionalism a manifestation of this same point of privilege, the same point of supremacy that you refer to?
I would say absolutely.
And so, therefore, that is a societal problem, and that is an argument. But I guess I want to kind of bring up one of two things, right? One being that concept of supremacy and that concept of pushing hard to have what you feel like the world is supposed to be, and that is the way it's supposed to be. This narcissistic concept of the way that you think it should be is the way that it's supposed to be, and forcing that to exist. Would you like for me to let you chime back in?
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, Jeff. Please continue.
But the exceptionalism is something that we have been thought as a nation that is the way it's supposed to be, and there's not a single politician up there that is teaching and espousing humility. And since they're not espousing humility, are we really ever going to get rid of this concept of supremacy until we work on the whole concept of exceptionalism? Right? Whether that is the white power nation, or whether that is the blacks getting upset at gentrification because somebody's coming in and buying up their community that they've had for 50 years, or whether that is whatever it happens to be, then is that idea of supremacy really where we should be taking this battle, and not necessarily at any one particular race? Because I feel like in my heart of hearts that we are battling against the symptoms and not the problem. The symptom is that whites get mad at blacks, and blacks get mad at Hispanics, and these different factions are mad at each other. But to me, the fundamental problem is that any one group feels their organization is supreme and is the correct way to do any one given problem.
Okay. So I think that, sorry.
No apologies, please.
I think that's a very American point of view. I think that in other places in the world, they're a little more homogenized in their cultures and in their peoples. So just to even say, let's not be to even say that there is equality all along everywhere, it just seems very American to begin with. So
I'm not espousing for equality. I don't really care where the equality goes, because that's a symptom. That's an end result. All I'm looking for is removal of or minimizing, rather, the concept of any one group having supremacy. Is that you can define a group based on their color, creed, social background as being supreme.
Is that not equality?
But equality is a result. Equality is how much does X group make, and how much does Y group make, and how much, what is the percentage of women in Google, and all of these kinds of concepts are concepts of equality, and that's really a result. And I'm trying to battle against the decision point when you look at it and go, okay, who is brought up for a promotion? Who is it that's accepted as a job applicant? Who is it that feels well enough or qualified enough to even apply for said job? Much less who gets the job, much less who gets the promotion. We teach our women that they're not supposed to be good at science and math in large part. There are a lot of places that's taught in our culture. And if that's taught to them, then there is a certain percentage of women who will follow that.
Okay, so I think the nuance there that I will say is that I don't think we teach our women that they're not good at science and math. I just don't think we teach our women that they are any good at science and math. I don't think we actively go against them anymore. We used to. I don't think it's anymore. You must sit and learn how to cook and knit and stuff. But yeah, I agree with that. But I don't think we actively say, women, you're not good at science and math. We don't have any good people to look up to.
There's no Bill Nye for the female scientist.
Yeah, which scientifically has shown that if you have role models, you too believe as a young girl that you can achieve what that role model
Who'll be my role model? Now my role model is gone. Jump back on the alley. And I said, now and away. There were incidents and accidents, and there were hints and allegations.
I got some questions.
Hallelujah.
I think possibly what you're saying is, why don't we just remove... Oh, okay. I think we may have lost Thom. But we're gonna try and get him back.
He'll be back, I assure.
Yeah,
okay, so what were you gonna say?
I'm gonna send him an invite real quick. Sorry. Hold on.
Well, I think we've got him coming.
Yay! And he's back. So my question is, to more of what you were saying. Maybe we don't ask this question anymore. Maybe race becomes a non-question.
I believe in that. I believe in that wholeheartedly. And the more that we convince people to look at race as a thing, the more they are going to look at it as a thing.
Now, on one side, you're going to have people that will be like, you can't take away my culture. You can't take away my identity.
You can't take away... You ain't going to mess with me. I'm not trying to take away your identity. I'm just trying to quit tracking you as that identity in a systematic way.
Gotcha.
Right? So we're systematically creating a world where you are defined and you are made to be you are lined out based on these criterion, one of which being race, then we are serving to create more divisions in our populace.
Right. Now, there's going to be a lot of marketers, which I'll speak for my people, saying that, that's really helpful, though, to do that, and we need that from the world. But maybe we can take the tact of what the census has done.
The census has done it, or the census is about to do it?
Sorry, has considered.
The census has considered. And if you are not aware, as our listening public is generally highly aware, but if there is one of the many of you out there today that are not fully aware of this, the census has recently toyed with the idea of changing the questionnaire on race, that it no longer states what your race is, removing the word race from the questionnaire altogether. Is that correct, Michelle? That
is correct. I don't think it's even country or place of origin anymore. It's just, what do you categorize yourself as?
And is categorizing even valuable?
I think so. Okay, so here's why. I think categorizing removes race. Now, it's going to be a sticky wicket because categorizing could get very deep and wide, depending on how they want to go. But it really focuses, I think, on what we use that for, is to categorize in markets and to categorize in government groups of people that need assistance or groups of people that respond a certain way.
Yeah, so let me define this in my thoughts here for a second. It changes it from something that you are defined as because of your birth, and changes it into something that you are able to dictate, you are able to discern, you are able to decide as a grown human.
Yes.
Right? So that changes the onus from something that you are bestowed, such as the color of your skin, to something that you define as, what kind of person am I going to be? And may I argue that this should not be something that we allow somebody under the age of consent to do. Right? Why not take that as you are, when you become a citizen, when you become a citizen in full standing, you are able to be an adult in the eyes of the law whenever that arbitrary number is, whether that is 13 in the eyes of the Jewish church or the 18 in the United States, or whatever. Then you say at that point you're able to determine how you classify yourself.
I would say you're out from control of your parents and you're out from control of the government.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that might give us some more honest answers to the world before and after. Like, I could imagine. Well, no, I'm going to backtrack on that. Yes, I agree.
All right. Any thoughts, Thom?
Y'all are doing a great job.
Y'all doing a great job. Doing a great job.
Welcome back, sir. Welcome back.
Sorry about that. I don't know what, my entire setup crapped the bed, and I had to kind of redo some stuff.
You did really well. That was a quick.
It was what we call smooth. And I think of you as an operator of smooth.
I try.
Smooth operator.
Unfortunately, I can't really see the. I can see the top. Oh, it's back. Oh, that's great.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, you know who's not here, but I have something in his spirit today. So our great
geographist
Frank, who's usually with us here. I figured I just learned a fact about something, so I was like, this is fascinating. Did you know that there's only one country now in the world that is a grand duchy?
What? A grand duchy?
There is one country in the world.
Isn't
remaining.
a duchy a smoking pipe, or is it a cooking pot?
Past the duchy on the right-hand side.
No, what is this? There's only one country that is a grand duchy?
Yeah, sometimes referred to as a grand dukedom. It's a country
I believe it's grand duché.
Whatever. I'll speak American.
No,
Australia.
no, it's totally Dutch. But I was trying to be,
okay.
I was trying to call Frank in here just to be random.
You were being grand douchey just there.
Douchey. All right. So what is a Grand Duchy?
Burn. It's a country whose head of state is a monarch who is either a Grand Duke or Grand Duchess.
Monaco.
You're in the right kind of continent. Michelle, guess?
Jeff took my guess.
Okay.
Oh.
Jeff took my guess is not a country yet.
Yes. that new country that the Disney princess is a princess.
No.
of.
Nope. How about Gibraltar?
No.
Ooh, damn, Jeff. Really good
Um,
guesses.
I don't know about all of that.
You're
and so it's
good to
not
guess
Monaco.
small. You're good to guess small. It's not Monaco.
Liechtenstein.
Ah, nice small one.
Another great guess, but I think that's a principality.
Okay. Principality. Right. Okay.
Just like Monaco is a principality because it's.
And is
the
there
prince of
anything
Monaco.
small inside the old Ottoman Empire? That's really where it
Moldova.
feels like it's going to be.
No, it's not Ottoman Empire. It's Western Europe.
Really? Western Europe?
It has an economic union with two other countries, which creates a very fun acronym.
Hold
Oh,
on.
Michelle's excited.
Hold on.
I got nothing.
No. No.
Tom, will you chime in?
So I'll give you the acronym is Benelux, and the three countries in Benelux are
Luxembourg,
Belgium.
right?
And Luxembourg is the only Grand Duchy.
Nice.
Luxembourg.
Benelux is Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and
Ah.
Luxembourg is a Grand Duchy. It is I don't know if it's a duke or a duchess right now, but yeah, fascinating, right?
Wow. It is fascinating. That is very random, and I love it for its randomosity.
Yeah, that one's for you, Frank, baby.
Woo! So there's another new show. If you're looking for anything more to watch on the TVs, Netflix has released a new show called Sense8. Sense 8, the number
You're
8.
the second person to talk about this
Yeah.
week to me.
It was released a week or two ago, and it's getting very good reviews. I have not watched it yet, but it is on my schedule. So if anyone out there has interest in putting it on their schedule, I have heard very good things.
It's
And-
from the Wachowski siblings, right?
Right. I think that's what it is. But it's it proves again that now we can put together new content, and it doesn't have to go through HBO, Showtime, or the big 4, I guess now. So there you go.
The future, baby.
The future is here. Anybody want to mention about LeBron flashing the whole world?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he put his Sprite can on display? Is that what it was?
Yeah. There's a very brief glance of his of the king's scepter.
The King's Scepter.
Yeah, King James' scepter was briefly showed during one of the finals games, where
He was
it's just
adjusting
gonna
his
happen.
shorts. Yep.
adjusting his shorts, kind of and there was a high camera angle. What are you gonna do?
That's right.
Hey,
Not much.
We're all human. We all got stuff.
That's exactly right.
Let it be.
There was a comment by J Law whenever all the fappening happened that says, "Yes, I'm a woman. I have both breasts and a vagina. It's just the way it turns." Congratulations.
Nothing to see
that
here.
all
Move
exists. That's right.
Exactly.
All right. Is there a hat of us hattery?
There is, and this is. I don't have a name for this person. I'm just gonna say it's the director of special events for the Utah minor league baseball team, the Orem Owls, who and I just like
owls.
this is just so they had to cancel a planned event, which was going to be Caucasian Heritage Night.
Well, yeah, I can see how they need to cancel that. Yes.
And it was going to be a goal in the promotion is to have fun and make fun of everyday normalcies, We're gonna have Wonder Bread with mayonnaise, clips from shows like Friends and Seinfeld, and trying to solve the vertical leaping challenge. It's for fuck's sakes, it's 2015, and I know it's minor league, but that doesn't mean your PR should be run by minors, because this is just such sophomoric humor on such a. It's just dumb. This is the kind of thing that maybe last decade I could see someone doing it and kind of going, I didn't really think it would be a problem, but. So that was my asshat. It's just like no, no kind of sorry. Just so dumb.
Okay, so I have another piece of history that was brought up this past week. Is the 40th anniversary of Jaws.
40th
anniversary of Jaws.
Dun-dun.
Song that always comes up for me is "Show Me the Way to Go
Home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago and it went straight to my head."
Oh! Nice. So that's the song that always comes up to me. And you should look, there's some really interesting things on the interwebs about how horribly wrong they got all of the science in the movie.
Really?
The movies got science wrong?
I think they're getting better at times. So now you can find movies that actually get the science right.
No,
but
not
it's certainly
Jeff.
not all.
It's like Jaws for the Revenge. Jaws for the Revenge. Got it.
It's what now? Science is catching up with fiction?
Science is catching up. That's really what it is.
Awesome. It shouldn't that really be like an annual show? Has science caught up with fiction?
God,
Where are we in the science catching up with fiction? Are we to Jules Verne yet? Are we there? Are we to Isaac Asimov? Where are we on the science fiction spectrum?
Yes. I still don't have my holograms and holodecks and no. My replicators, I want it all.
I want it now, baby.
Yes. Oh, we usually do holidays. I should mention to you both to have a fine day. This longest day of the year.
Oh yeah, it's the solstice.
Oh, which one is?
It is the solstice.
Today?
Yes.
Yeah.
No way.
Indeed.
Yes way.
Wow.
They do yoga in Times Square for the summer solstice.
Wow.
It's gonna be a long day.
Yeah. It's gonna be a long day. The very longest.
And it's always a pleasure to start it off with you guys.
Aww. That's why we started a little late today, because there's a little bit more time. And I think that's going to put this in the books. To the books?
To the books.
To the books. So I would like to thank all of our hosts and hostess for being here to be one of the corners on the Speaker's Corner, where you do not have to think like me.
You do not have to think like me.
You do not have to think like me.
But we ask you to think.com, where you can come in and join us any given week and espouse your thoughts. Come back and hang out.